I am so happy that my Ethernet cord is long enough for my bedroom.
Man, that Ethernet cord's long, girl.
Man, oh, it's recording? I forgot.
Welcome to Cousin Closet. I'm Maddie.
I'm Emily.
And today we're mermaids. Sexy mermaids.
Yeah, you can't skip the sexy piece.
No. I actually am really glad that we redid this mermaid theme because this feels so much more resonant to me than what I put together the first time we tried to do mermaid.
Yeah, because that was the episode that we decided to not air. Because we're
the episode that never was.
Yeah, it's in the vault, baby.
One day we can release Maddy and Emily's version from the vault.
Yeah, I like that necklace.
Thank you. Should we just get into our outfits right away?
Let's mix it up. We have no rules.
We have no rules. I got no rules, I got.
What was that? Was that Britney?
No, Dula Peep. It was Dua Lipa.
Okay, but you kind of had like a Britney-esque, like nasal. You went full nasal there.
A Britney-esque nasal. Before I get into my outfit, actually, I have something I have to say. Maybe this could be my laundry list item.
Yeah, let's go into our laundry list.
Okay.
You go. You start it out.
So I have a bone to pick with Utah coffee shops for a couple of reasons. The sweetness level
is absurd or not enough for you.
No, not that one. The sweetness level is giving that lollipop girl from Wreck-It Ralph.
Haven't watched the movie. Can you reference a movie that I've seen?
Can you watch any movies? Coming from the girl who's like halfway through the movie in the theaters scrolling on her phone like, I'm bored. I looked up the ending.
Yet I watched the movie The Pacifier with Vin Diesel 12 times in a row one time. I should have known I was autistic.
I was just going to say the same thing.
I just burped.
I always think that when people are like, what's your favorite film? And I'm like, Hercules and Princess Diaries.
Also, it gets better. I was literally at the beach with people. I just stayed in a room and watched The Best.
Wait, is Vin Diesel one of your weird crushes like Mark Wahlberg?
Maybe that was a thing and I just couldn't label it because I was too young. I was like, I like this film.
What do all of these men have in common?
They're like short and buff, which is that's not my type. As I'm looking at my dog who's like literally
short and buff. It's so true. He's so short and so buff. Okay, we need to upload a picture of Bonzi, our mascot, because he is our short king. If me, you, and Bonzi are the Holy Trinity, who's God, who's Jesus, and who's the Holy Ghost?
Wait, but I'm confused. We are three, so wouldn't we be the Trinity?
This is exactly what I'm saying. As the Trinity, me, you, Bonzi.
Oh, I get what you mean. Okay.
Who's the Father? Who's the Son? Who's the Holy Ghost, do you think?
I think I'm the Father. I think... Wait, but you're also the older one of the two.
I think I'm the Father.
Bonzi's the Holy Ghost.
I think so, too. I think you're the Son. Like S-O-N, but also S-U-N because joy.
I keep having my dinosaur burps, but they're like in my throat.
I do think you should give a moment to tell everybody about your dinosaur burps because they're a part of you.
I do need to acknowledge that. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't really gotten much into like the things that are wrong with my body on this episode, but they're chronic.
A few minutes in. I've yet to talk about my health this episode after 30 seconds, but here I go.
I have never been able to burp. Like, naturally, one still has gas within them, and it needs to come out in some way. Not a big farter. We didn't really... I just feel like I also need to give that context. Like, it's either going to come up or it's going to go down, you know? No, so every now and then, air will creep up my throat, but it, like, doesn't fully exit, so then it just sounds like I'm a dinosaur. It's like, ah. But yeah, I need to get to the bottom of that. Some people actually apparently will get Botox in their throat
to keep their dinos at bay.
To keep the dinos at bay. Anyways,
I'll tell you what. Last week was really tough, but I'm really proud of myself. I feel a lot of relief and I feel a lot of love and support. So thank you to everyone who is so kind and loving and gentle. And it's so scary to talk about things online. Why do I have a podcast if I'm so scared?
You thought your life was solved a little bit. And that's okay. We've talked about that.
Making a decision before your life gets kind of hard and vulnerable. And then you have to follow through and you're like, oh no, now I gotta tell the truth and everybody's gonna see me for who I am and I can't hide behind anything. That sounds like a song that would be on an EFY album, which is especially for youth, which was Mormon summer camp.
I also have 2 other things that I want to unpack, and I'm just going to put them on my laundry list.
We gotta get back to mine because I never did it, but continue.
Fuck. Okay. Why do you sometimes reference that you were a Christian and sometimes reference that you were a Mormon? Not to
That's-
call you out, but I don't know. Because I've always resonated as Christian. I've always thought you resonated as Mormon. But then last episode you said that you were Christian and it threw me. And I need you to unpack that.
Okay, Mormons are Christians. It's just like a sect of Christianity. They believe in Jesus. That's all it is just it falls under Christianity since it is a worshiping Jesus kind of situation.
You would have thought that my parents would have acknowledged that.
That our family were also Christian.
Yes, but that was not the case. You guys were wrong. We've talked about
you too.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we are both wrong in each other's families. Can't wait for them to convert and come to heaven with us.
Sitting at the dinner table like, when Emily reads the Book of Mormon, that'll get her. That'll get her. Yeah, really good point. I knew you were Christian, but I just knew you were wrong.
I clearly remember one time my mom was cleaning and I just walked up to her and said, so how do you know we're right? And she was like, what? And I was like, no, literally I was intuitive, okay? She knew something. She's like, something is off. And I literally was like, Mom, there are like multiple religions. Why are we right? And I can't remember her answer. But the other thing I want to unpack was you didn't drink caffeine when you were younger because you could only have cream soda, root beer, and Sprite.
I could have Fanta.
But you never had dark sodas other than root beer, correct?
You're correct. Okay, I specifically remember caffeine was a big no-no, but I had my first Dr. Pepper in 6th grade with my then best friend, Michaela Bunicore. Shout out, haven't seen her in years, but she did give me my first Dr. Pepper. I also think I said my first swear word with her, and one time she tried to give me a Jell-O shot when I was 11.
She's a real one.
And I think she also taught me how to grind, which is awesome. So yeah.
Did she just grind on you and was like, this is how you do it?
Yeah, I remember us like putting on Daddy Yankee music videos in the living room and we were just like and honestly, I thank her for that. I also remember realizing that I was developmentally delayed because I was going pee and she pointed at me and said, it's bald!
I think you and I both were. Because we started our periods around the same time, so we must have been...
Sorry, I'm dropping barnacles everywhere. I was drinking Dr. Pepper in 6th grade, 5th and 6th grade. And I specifically remember also when my brother was a senior in high school, we were driving one day, and I look in his backseat, empty Mountain Dew bottles. And I was like, clutching my pearls.
That's like next level caffeine. That's not like your typical Diet Coke.
But it is funny that Mormons, like, it used to be a thing where it was like no caffeine, but now it's just like, oh no, just no coffee, and everyone is like drinking sodas and energy drinks.
Yeah, it seems so weird. Why then no caffeine?
I think that it was one of those cultural things that just came about because no coffee was allowed, and people were like, oh, is it the caffeine? And it was one of those like cultural stories that just kind of circulated and became an expectation.
I feel like this is a marriage. It's just one of those cultural things that just came around and everyone thought, we should do
this. Oh, let's do this. Yeah, one of my friends was telling me how he was working with the missionaries in his like congregation, and they told him and showed him a picture of their wall, which they had filled and covered with empty energy drink cans. And he was like, so why again am I not drinking coffee? These servants of the Lord are chugging 12 bangs a day, and here I am struggling to get up with my kids. Why can't I just have a little cup of joe?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. My brain went to also some dark things just with everything coming out because you know that like leaders of the church are hiding a lot of things, and I don't think caffeine intake is their biggest one.
I fear you must be right.
That was a hard
pivot.
Yeah, a hard pivot. But just candidly, it's in my brain right now with everything happening. It's fucked. Okay, and I also have something to say.
Okay, I still haven't given my laundry list item yet that I started, but go ahead and give your third. Go ahead, give your third laundry list item I want to hear. Go on.
I'm so sorry.
Go on.
I think it's like nervous chattiness is what's
Yeah.
happening. I feel like you had nervous silence and I am having nervous chattiness.
That's so true. Honestly, though, which one of those is better for a podcast? So you win. You win. Go on, tell me the thing.
Okay, this is going to go deep, but I've been struggling with, as I become more spiritual, all of these worldly events. It almost feels like all of this shit that is going down and all of these corrupt actions of our government and fucking celebrities. And I've just been seeing a lot of people talk about how at a vibrational level, the more in which you emit joy, it's so contagious. Remember how I said that joy is an act of rebellion amongst everything going on because of the fact that joy is the highest vibration? I just feel like, yes, I want to protest. Yes, I want to get angry. Yes, I want to get mad. But is that a reaction that is leaning into, it's like with a narcissist, actually, the
Yeah.
way in which you counteract a narcissist, which I would say that the energy that's in our world today is very narcissistic.
Totally.
And you don't want to give them your energy. A lot of times you want to actually give them no reaction, give them the silence,
Yeah.
and they don't know what to do with themselves. And a lot of times I feel like they implode almost. I think at the end of the day, a lot of this does come down to finding the joy within yourself. And I feel like that multiplies much more than any anger, hate. You know what I mean?
I completely agree. And I think that's what I loved so much about Bad Bunny's halftime performance was
Yes.
how beautifully rooted it was from start to finish in joy,
In love.
in
Yes.
truth, and in inclusion. How everyone who you saw on screen, everyone who was participating was smiling, was dancing their ass off, was participating in something that really was historical and life-changing.
Yes.
And especially at a time when that performance could have so rightfully been something very angry and very
Yeah.
like
fuck ICE,
fuck the system,
you,
100%.
Yeah, totally. Could have been
And-
so rooted in anger.
It could, and it would have been so valid.
Mm-hmm.
He's such a talented artist that whatever he did would have been incredible, but the fact that he's using his platform to continually spread this message that love is stronger than hate, and not just saying that, but showing that with everything he's doing, with what he wears, with his set design, with his choreography, with the people that he includes, with the people he chooses to work with outside of his shows. Like, it's so much more
Intentional.
and it's like it's addictive, right? And
Mhm.
ultimately, when you think about the cycles of life, I feel like that revolutionary spirit is always going to be more powerful and important in the long run, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing that actually lasts and is remembered.
Yeah. I love that. It was just so wholesome and was uniting versus dividing, especially when you think about it. There was a lot of energy there that was wanting division. I mean, there was a whole other fucking backup show for a
Embarrassing.
very slim, embarrassing amount of people.
Kid Rock! His name and headlights! Come see him!
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sorry.
tough.
It's so cringy. It's so embarrassing.
It's really bad. And I've loved the posts of people saying the same people who needed a separate halftime show are the same people who needed their own drinking fountains and bathrooms.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
like, yeah, girl, that. Even just thinking about learning about segregation growing up, and you're like, oh
Yeah.
my God, the idea that there would be separate things and events and places for people based on their race is insane.
Yeah.
Yet, actually,
Here
nothing
we
has
are.
changed. It's just the way that people are showing it is different. The same
Yeah.
justifications are being used, right? Like,
Totally.
it's all about America. It's all based in this white supremacy. And then you have
Ugh.
somebody like Bad Bunny saying, yeah, it is about America. And America is more than just the United States. Wake up and see that, you know?
Yeah.
He's daddy.
Yeah, he's hot.
I think definitely like my number one male celebrity crush, other than Justin Bieber, obviously, who's eternally at the top because of who he is to me.
Yeah.
I'm a believer. I'll cross myself for that.
I feel like I gotta refine my top celebrity crushes because, I mean, Harrison Ford is getting up there.
This actually reminds me of one time on my mission, I had this person that I was teaching named Rose, and she was 92. She was honestly iconic, but every time you saw her, you'd say, hi, Rose, how are you doing? And she would say, not good. I'm 92, you know? I'd be like, yeah, girl, I know. I would also not be good
Honestly,
if I were
yeah,
92.
Rose, I don't want to live to 92, candidly. I'm good with like a solid 85.
She passed away not long after she got baptized, but it was one of those experiences that I
Hmm.
really treasure because She had lived this incredible life. Like, she had
Yeah.
been in the military, she was a pilot.
One of those women with just so many chapters that you're like, just iconic immediately.
Kinda like our Nana, our great-grandma, who died at 101.
Yeah. Yeah, she was iconic.
And being able to meet Rose and for her to have so much life at 92 and be like, "I'm still open to discovering truth and to committing to
Mm.
things that are meaningful to me," even though I know like, she had a severe infection in her arm, and it was very swollen and hung down really low and was really
Oh.
uncomfortable for her, but she was still so committed to just experiencing life and, learning about new things and things that made her feel connected to something spiritual.
Not to put them out on the chopping block, but, like, what happened to the boomer generation? Because I feel like that's how it
What do you just in general?
that's how it should be. You should always go throughout your life being like, I can say one thing today and I might have a different perspective about something from a year from now. And I'm always ebbing and flowing and learning and
Mhm.
approaching the world from a state of curiosity. But I just feel like anyone that's like 50 and up, not to put you in a box, but I'm just going to say, for the most part, a lot of you, why is there this stubbornness? Am I missing something?
Well, I feel like it's just always in reaction to the cycles, to history, to what's going on, right? Like Rose,
Yeah.
Nana, these people who, are living to their hundreds. What they lived through the Great Depression, right? There's this sense
Yeah.
of I have seen life get bad and I've seen it get good and I'm just going to roll with it. Where I feel like the children of that generation were taught from parents who came from more of a scarce survival mindset and they took that on even though
Yeah.
there was less of a survival instinct actually needed and more just
Yeah.
reaction to how parents showed up based on their circumstances. That's what I feel.
Ugh,
Like every generation is
okay,
just reacting to the next.
that's fair. I think I need to be a little bit more gracious.
We're all doing our best.
It's so true.
Can I get into my laundry list item? Okay. So the sweetness of the coffee shops, I get it because again, we're in Utah, candy, soda, and I feel like a hypocrite saying that because I am such a candy girl and I was raised with candy and sugar running through my veins and I get it and I
Yes.
love my little dirty soda. I love my treats, right? I don't want my coffee to taste like a marshmallow.
Yeah.
Also, this is the main thing. That was the precursor. The portion sizes are so big. I wanted a medium coffee.
You got a big gulp.
I'm holding this up to my
Mm.
head, and it is the size of my head.
That's gotta be 25 ounces.
It is. Which I would have
Yeah.
considered like a large, maybe even an extra large, right? And
100%.
at the same time, I recognize it's kind of a bang for your buck thing here. Like, I paid the same amount that I would for like a small coffee in San Francisco and got this huge thing, but also I don't know if I need this whole big chug-a-lug that I've had only half of in the past couple of hours. I'm scared I'm gonna drink it and then it's gonna be like 10 p.m. and I'm gonna be twitching, my eyes twitching like,
I don't know this about you. Are you one to drink your coffee and your sodas, like, chug it in 2 seconds, or do you, like, keep it in your fridge for 3 days?
okay, so I feel like there's gotta be an in-between there. I love a tasty drink, and I can
Yeah.
definitely chug a lug, especially if it's cold and iced,
Yeah.
I love to sip my coffee kinda throughout the day unless I have something I have to get done, and then I'll just glug, 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 glug.
Totally valid and fair.
But as for me and my new child, which is this massive cup of coffee because I feel like I have to nurture it and raise it now,
Yeah.
I'm
It's a part of
halfway
you.
through and we'll see how long it takes me to get through the rest. I would consider saving the rest of this for tomorrow. If we finish and I
Okay.
say, "Oh, I'm caffeinated," I'll put it in the little fridge. I'll put it in
That's
there.
not crazy.
No,
For
it's
how
not
large
crazy.
that is.
Yeah.
But, like, my sister and now I realize my roommate, they'll get, like, a tall 8-ounce coffee.
Mhm.
Days. Takes them days to get through, and I have never been like that.
No.
I don't identify.
Nope, I don't identify, and also, I am constantly taking in stimuli through my senses, whether that's I want a little drink or I want a little something to chew on or to touch. I'm
Yes.
literally sitting here holding
What is that?
well, I think this is maybe a good transition to get into outfits,
I
shall
agree.
we? Okay. So, speaking of the senses and needing to have something, all of your senses engaged, when we're talking like this, I need to have something to stim with, right? I need something to hold on to so that I'm not so focused on the fact that I'm talking. What I have
Mhm.
today is a treasure. It is a barnacle covered metal valve rod. It washed up from the sea. It has the letters BOMAR on it, Bomar.
Someone's like, that's mine.
Actually, when I pulled this out, I was like, a snarfblat, like a little mermaid, because it looks like you could go like
Mermaid vibes, 1000
It looks like a
Ariel
flute
specifically.
or a pipe, like puff, puff, puff.
What's that one song with the forks? It's like,
I got gadgets and gizmos.
yeah,
aplenty.
that's what it is. Yeah,
I
yeah,
sang
yeah.
that at my talent show in elementary school every time, and I will
Full
still
circle.
say that I can absolutely slay at that song. You
I
want
love.
thingamabobs? I got 20, but who cares? No big deal.
Your Ariel
I want
hair. Can you just do a little flip for
more.
us?
So yeah, I do have a freshly glossed red hair, copper. I
It's
guess
so iconic.
I think it was more red last time I dyed it, but this time I told my sister who does my hair, shout out to Lindsay, if you want anyone to do your hair, you should go see her in Murray, Utah. She's incredible, at Hair by Lindsay. But she gave me a little gloss, some layers. She taught me how to style my hair, and I am like, oh, I'm a woman now.
No, literally, I want to book a flight and be like, can you give me extensions and give me Maddie's hair? Like, it looks so good.
So my outfit today, sexy mermaid was our theme, right? My little prop here is my barnacle covered. What would you call this?
It looks like a pipe.
It looks like a pipe, but it's not. I'm just going to call it a barnacle covered pipe.
Yeah.
And it's nice to hold on to. It's very comforting for me. What I did for my outfit today, I wanted to layer upon something that was giving mermaid, bikini, whatever it may be. So I have this turquoise skim set, little briefs, and then kind of a
Cute.
V-necked bra. So I started with that set. And let me tell you, I worked miracles. So, months ago, I went to an estate sale. There was a sign walking in that said, enter at your own risk. Woo!
Your cup of tea.
Honestly, just rags. I think it was probably like a triple XL set of a dress and then like a little underskirt kind of a thing. Didn't fit me. I almost gave it away when I was leaving San Francisco, but it felt like it had potential.
You saw the vision.
I saw the vision. So first I put on the dress. Instead of the arms going up over the shoulders, I zipped it so that the arms went over my hips, almost like a high hip curve, like a mermaid tail. Then I pulled up the chiffon skirt
Yes.
to the top of my bra and attached it so that it made a little scoop neck. And I attached oyster shells to the top so it's like they're holding up the chiffon.
If you're not watching this, you need to. It's iconic.
And I decided to add a little brooch here in the middle of the bra because it felt like something that a mermaid would find, you know, and attach to their shells. I decided to adorn this with gold, which is usually not what I go for. We've talked about some gold chains that are a little bit giving Greek mythology vibes.
Yes.
Draped around my waist and around my neck. But I really like how it's bringing it together. What I did with the overskirt is I pulled it over the top to cover the spots on my hips where the armholes were, and I made it into a bustle in the back.
A bustle. God.
Made it into a little bustle. The rest of it is tight here.
Wow, it's so cute.
Like a mermaid. I'm trying to
Wow.
swish, swish. And then I have these shoes. These I thrifted forever ago. They're couture, Donald J. Pliner, handmade in the mountains of Italy. I found them at this consignment store once, and they were so cheap, and I snagged them. To me, this felt like, oh, here's my foot walking on the beach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Got a sandy color. Try to get a good look at them.
Feet for free, guys. Feet for free.
Yep, so little tan, kitten heel, deep toe. Overall, channeling goddess, mermaid, sea foam, seashell, chic shell.
Chic shell.
And that's my fit, girls. Yeah, if you're not watching this, you should be.
I feel like this is when you start. Our first two outfits, we were just warming up. Should I go into mine?
Yes.
I am wearing a bodysuit that I'm obsessed with. I thrifted it when I actually visited San Diego. Like, I should live here before I moved. And now I'm here and I love it. It is a white, but like mesh. It has polka dots that I felt like kind of resembled
Scales.
Scales, that's the vibe I was going for. I wanted to wear a white bra, but I couldn't find it, so I just went for, like, a cute little pink scallop bra underneath because the bodysuit is
Love.
see-through.
But scalloped also feels perfect, like little clamshells.
Yes, that was the vibe, and
Yep.
they are little. I am wearing they're like hot pants from Nasty Gal, and basically they're a bikini bottom covered in
High-waisted.
pastel sequin fringy bottoms. I have probably gotten more life out of these than I would have ever thought. I bought them for
Mhm.
the Taylor Swift concert. I think I've never felt hotter than what I wore that day. I had a
Same.
spray tan, my hair was long. You were also in your Scorpio. Like that,
I was in my reputation era.
it was beautiful.
Thank you.
And then I'm wearing the same booties.
White heeled booties.
Thank you.
Those hot shorts are very jellyfish-like with the little tentacles.
Yes, yeah. They're very like
Yeah, shake, shake,
sea
shake.
shake,
Yeah,
shake. You're
for sure.
welcome. And then I'm wearing some pearl hoops. I'm wearing this pretty eyeshadow, but none of my makeup comes across on camera.
You look
Perfect.
fab. I love it.
Thank you.
I just bled all over myself. So I pulled off my little Skims shorts and I unzipped the dress. So you want to know what? If I turned around right now, it's just ass.
I love
It's
that.
just my back is covered and then you get to the bottom and it's just like a slit for ass. So that's part 2. What are we supposed to do if we ever have to go to a real event where we have to dress up? We're going to need to have like a simple bodysuit. Like, okay, so we're going to be in our undies by the end.
We actually shed throughout the night, so our prices increase as the night goes on.
Okay, you and I chose specifically to wear something sexy this week because you wanted to feel empowered as we had this discussion about your divorce, right?
Yeah.
Last week, we started to unpack breakups in general. So I want to give you the chance to get into your divorce and all of the ins and outs of that. And I'm wondering if you want to start by giving us a little context to how you met your ex and maybe what your expectations were for a relationship or marriage when you met him.
Okay, so just to give context as to like how fresh this is, I asked him for a divorce about 9 months ago, which is wild. I'm still under a year. I'll probably get emotional just because I have not been talking about this as much as maybe the first 6 months. I feel like, especially since I'm in a different state now, it feels like I can put so much energy into things that were never even a part of my life when I was with him. We had actually met through a dating app. I was 22.
When you first matched with him.
22, 23.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm 31. So we had gone on a couple dates, super simple, super easy. Then he moved away. We dated other people. And then he came back into town. We were working at the same company, like walked past him, knew he was in town. So then I reached out to him. This was like a few months before the pandemic. We had probably started going on more official dates like end of January, like February of that year. So, I mean, we were
Okay.
like fresh when the pandemic started. And looking back, I definitely think, and I'm sure other people maybe feel the same way, that the pandemic was, I think, a lot more influential to my relationship than I think I accredited it initially.
What is it about the pandemic do you think influenced your relationship so much?
I think there was a lot. When we re-met, I had just turned 25.
So there were years between your initial experiences with each other.
Yes. I'm going to be honest. Year 25, I think I've always had a pretty deep insecurity, but I think that year was especially hard for me. You're in your middle of your 20s. You feel like this pressure that you should have more figured out than you do. I also had the context of religion informing what my relationships should be, who I am. All of my friends were religious and had already been married.
How did religion shape that? Specifically Christianity.
So, what I wanted to say before I'll get into the religious aspect is that I think, like many of us, we struggle to be alone, but I feel like I've always had this deep core wound of abandonment. And so, I think for me to be single at that age when all my friends were getting married, everyone kind of tells you that you should be in like a serious relationship. I feel like in the church, you get married when you're young, you find that partnership, you start having kids. That's just what
Continue
you
the
do.
cycle.
Yeah. And as we keep talking, I want to be very mindful of I'm going to have opinions about marriage that you might not have, and they might change for me down the line. But I think for me, the biggest thing that I want to focus on when I talk about divorce is like not feeling this autonomy for choice. And I want to also be clear, I wasn't in a horrible marriage. There was nothing, I don't even want to use any negative words because it was more so I ended up with the wrong person in the sense of I don't think that we made each other the best versions of ourselves. And
Yeah.
that's not to say that he was definitively wrong and I was definitively wrong. It just, at the end of the day, it was a lot of just mismatch in a lot of different
Yeah.
areas in your life. And
Compatibility extends to so many different places and different kinds
yes,
of compatibility,
yes,
which I think that when you're raised religiously, you're not really taught to think about compatibility in a lot of ways. And again, like you were saying, some people might have different feelings about this, but in my
yeah,
experience, in our experience, I didn't think, oh, I want to find someone who's intellectually, emotionally, socially compatible with me. I thought, I want to
yeah.
find a husband who's going to be faithful and take care of me and be a dad, and I'll make it work.
Totally. I didn't even know that I'm someone that so much needs emotional intimacy and like
Mm,
emotional attunement. Like I didn't
mm-hmm.
know what that was.
Yeah.
And I also think a big thing that I want to recognize is that the hardest part of my divorce, yes, it was really emotional and sad, like dividing your life with someone that you've spent 6 years with in
Yeah.
terms of dating, engaged, and together, and, leaving a home and just all of that change. But it was honestly really sad when I recognized that I didn't know myself going into that relationship. I didn't know what I need. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I
Mm-hmm.
deserved. And like coming to that realization at the age of 30,
Mm.
ooh, it's really
Painful.
hard. It's a lot of
Yeah.
painful self-reflection, and honestly, I did a lot of work with my family, and I think it's gonna be a forever journey, and you mentioned earlier, we're all doing our best, and so I want to approach this subject with a sense of gentleness, but there was some sadness as far as, sometimes our parents are only taught so much, and then that is
Mm-hmm.
reflected in what we learn, and then it's a cycle, right? You spoke
Totally.
about that in the previous episode. You and Ellie wanted to break the cycle of relationships being so much a part of our identity and the only thing that really matters.
It's almost like relationships are taught to us as this compulsory behavior rather than something that is thoughtful, intentional, you can kind of craft and weave together. Especially,
Yeah,
I think, in purity culture, where you're not having sex growing up, you're actually like
yeah.
discouraged from learning about yourself sexually. So you might not have as much relationship experience. Do you feel like that at all weighed into your decision? Like, how many serious relationships did you have before you decided to settle down with this person?
Totally. I mean, I was always very reserved from a dating perspective. I feel like I was a very well behaved child. I never, snuck out at night or never broke many rules. And when I look back to it, I think a lot of it was fear based. Like
Mm,
a lot of religious parenting, Christianity, like the values were so deeply enforced that
mm,
I was honestly scared to betray those.
that makes
I
sense.
was terrified to go to hell. I feel like that was my
Yeah.
North Star, like, do everything to not go to hell.
So if it's like, I don't want to go to hell, and they're teaching me that the best thing I can do is to have a committed relationship marriage and just go on that path, absolutely. I'm going to
Yeah.
tailor myself to that path.
Yeah, I mean, we would have these dedicated nights at youth group growing up, like, if you're listening and you were never religious, good for you. And, let me just tune you into it. We would have these nights that would be dedicated to talking about sex and the amount of shame that was brought into these conversations of, first of all, not even being able to feel empowered to explore in your own body with like masturbation and being able to
Totally.
know your body, your own pleasure, your own
Anatomy.
anatomy. Yeah, that's so infuriating. And then how that lack of self discovery impacts that shame when you go into a relationship with someone. One of the episodes, you were like, I was sleeping around in college. I never did. Like, honestly, I was a prude for years. I went to private school my whole entire life. So I was also surrounded by similar people that had that similar mindset.
I also want to say you weren't a prude by choice or temperament. You were taught to repress your sexuality.
It was more
And
internalized, like internal
yeah,
shame.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't do anything wrong. I think the word prude makes it seem like you were
Yeah.
choosing this celibate lifestyle, but I think there was a lot of conditioning that went into why you were the way that you were, right?
Yeah. I didn't have, like, a sexual relationship until I was 23, I think. So,
And was that your
like
last serious relationship before you met your ex-husband or before you
yeah,
started seeing him?
yeah. And I didn't have, like, hetero intercourse with him, but that was the first relationship that I explored, like, sexuality, and
Mhm.
I remember we would end up, spending the night at each other's place. We were together for about a year. I remember I was so shameful about it that I stopped letting my siblings follow my location. Never talked to them about it, never
Mm.
told them about it. It was just like a quick, "They
I
can't
remember
see,"
this.
because I was so ashamed of what would they think if I'm doing something that's so taboo.
100%. Well, and it's interesting too that at the same time that you were initially exploring your sexuality, I was also, right? Like dabbling in trying to understand where I stood sexually, where the line was, what was okay versus what was not based on what was taught to us and what
Yeah.
we felt instinctually, and us kind of bridging that subject together. Like, so we haven't really talked about this a lot throughout our life, but like, I'm horny. Okay, you too. Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, sweet. Okay, whew, okay, cool. Yeah, like being able to be like, okay, we're on the same page here about this being more nuanced, maybe than it was taught to us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to get back to, do you feel like the fact that your ex-husband was the first person who you had sex with, that there was any kind of like a bond that formed there, or that made you feel like, oh, this is the one because of an experience you had together you'd never had?
That's a great question. Honestly, looking back to that timeline of the relationship, I feel like I was not focusing on my feelings. I
Mm,
feel like I was more so chasing his feelings.
like wanting to appease what he wanted?
Yes. Like
Okay.
I wasn't focused on,
Like more focused on being desired than desiring, in the words
yes.
of Glennon Doyle.
I have always been in relationships. The moment that someone likes me, I will like them.
Mhm.
And it's never something that I've, like, felt like I've had, like, this autonomy and choice of, "Do I like them? Do I love them?" It's just something that I'm like, "Oh, someone desires me?
Totally.
Okay." And that's really hard to admit, but I feel like I was so focused on the desire of being wanted, which is, like, so sad to admit, but I also feel like I know for a fact I'm not alone in this.
No, not at all.
And it's silly because that's what, like, 10 people watch our podcast. I
It's not
think
it's
that
not silly.
I feel this, like, desire to express this because it's so ingrained in religion, in society, in culture that marriage is just your next step, and
The only
you
step.
the only step, yeah, and so instead of me really sitting back and being like, "Does this person make me the person that I want to be? Do they challenge me? Do they make me feel X, Y, and Z?" It was more so like, "I have to make them feel like this. I need to do this."
Almost like snag commitment.
Yeah, so much of my energy went to pursuing him, and I think all of that energy was, like, my life force of my personality and what makes me me and what makes me vibrant and joyful, just immediately went into this relationship to where I
Mhm.
just feel like I lost so much of myself,
Yes.
and I wanna be really clear in the fact that I don't regret this.
Mhm.
I don't regret this marriage. I don't regret this person. If I heard from this person in like a year or two and they were like, "I'm so happy. I'm in a relationship. I've worked on myself. I feel so content." I would be so happy for them. Like, I
Totally.
want to be clear in the sense that, like, none of this is malintent. Like, it's truly just my experience of
Absolutely.
not knowing and then learning, and yes, having that be really painful, but also being very grateful for what this relationship and what this marriage did, I think, for both of us, because
Yeah.
while it was so painful, it grew both of us immensely, and I think brought a lot of things up to the surface that required a lot of attention,
100%.
and has made me, I think, just a better person today.
Yeah, I think that's a really beautiful and mature perspective and mindset. I think a lot of people can probably resonate with that. I can definitely resonate with that, that it feels uncomfortable to talk about past relationships because
Yeah.
your perspective is different from your ex's because you have different lives, you know? You
Yeah.
perceived things differently. So it can feel scary to to make these absolute claims or to share how you're feeling because everyone is coming from their own place. But I
Yeah.
think it's really mature of you to recognize that regardless of if this is the person you ended up being with forever and it not being, you see it as something that was necessary for your growth and something that you wouldn't take back even though it was painful, you know?
Yeah.
I want to ask, because relationships themselves are very all consuming, right? Especially when you've been taught to really latch onto a relationship and make it serious and commit. And if you love each other, go for it no matter what. That infatuation period is already so intense. But
Yeah.
you started this relationship, right, as the pandemic was beginning, when everything
Yeah.
just kind of shut down. How did that shutdown of the world and all of the time you two had together play into your relationship and your commitment to each other?
I feel like it sped things along. I mean, we had to immediately decide, are we going to be in each other's circles or not? So that,
Totally.
in a sense, like escalated because we weren't even quote unquote exclusive. So it was very much this, okay, we're either going to do this or not.
Yeah.
And then it was just like a lot of time spent together that I don't think that we would have gotten had the pandemic not been a thing. There was just a lot less distraction.
Hmm.
Because let's see here, we dated for about just shy of a year and a half, and then we got engaged. Looking back, I don't know if it's even normal with the best of relationships and with the long lasting relationships. I don't know if doubts are normal to have just even a little bit, but I did always have a little bit of a doubt in terms of our compatibility.
In what way, what thoughts were going through your mind that you would kind of try to ignore?
I felt misunderstood a lot, but I also feel like there's only so many people that fully understand me. So I think I just thought I was a problem. I just feel like I've always been someone that has very few friends, but they're very strong connections. I haven't ever been one of those people that just makes friends with everyone and just has so many people in their life. And so I think I just thought that I was the issue. I always thought that I was over demanding, or in relationships, sometimes it's portrayed like, I can't read your mind. I don't know what you want. I have always said this though, and I would get confused because I do think that communication is really important in any type of relationship. But I also think when you get to know someone and when someone becomes either a partner or you just have a soulmate friendship in your life, I think that there is sometimes this unsaid nature of not even needing to speak your needs or your wants, and they can still be met to some degree.
I totally see what you're saying. I feel like there's a romanticization of innately understanding each other without having to explain, which I think
Yeah.
is based in probably most people repressing their emotions and not being able to
Yeah.
have difficult conversations.
I think there's a balance of both.
For sure.
And honestly, I think that is definitely a topic that I don't even know where I fall. I very much could be in a relationship in X amount of years and be like, oh, yeah, I actually completely take back the fact that I thought it was innately something you're just attuned to because of depth knowing, versus
Mhm.
me always having to articulate myself. I also think that with the pandemic, whether it was conscious or subconscious, it was like doomsday, right?
Totally.
So naturally, whoever is close,
Yeah.
you're gonna be like, "No, you're coming with me,"
Oh,
you
I
know?
felt that in my relationship at the time. I felt even more
Yeah,
so. I wanted to marry you before, and now I need to lock it down because the world is scary and I want security.
yeah, and I think a lot of that was present for sure.
We talked about your dating journey. At what point did you decide you were going to get engaged? How were you feeling about that when you made that decision? And did you have any doubts when you were deciding to get engaged?
We had been talking about it for a while, and my ex-husband was 6 years older than me and also was clearly wanting to have kids.
Settle down.
Yeah, and I was like, "Yep, I'll have kids. I'm 6 years younger. I'm in less of a rush, but we can align on that. I can probably we'll figure it out." It didn't come across as a red flag or anything like that. But I definitely feel like I saw marriage as big commitment naturally. I think also in having the low self-esteem, holistically, I just didn't have a whole lot of self-trust. I have always had a hard time with making really big decisions for myself without consulting other people in my life. That's almost embarrassing to say out loud as a 31-year-old, but I definitely feel like I'm codependent with multiple people in my life. Like, let's get a poll and then I'll make my decisions.
Which I think is valid when you're raised in high demand religions that ask you to abandon your intuition or disguise
Yeah,
intuition as something outside of yourself. I resonate with that as well. When you haven't had any time alone with yourself to learn to trust yourself, trial and error with yourself, you're just kind of banking on what feels maybe right. And that's all based in what's normal to your nervous system and maybe not actually what's based in what's going to be best for you.
totally. I feel like I just was struggling with the fact that, oh my God, this is a lifelong decision. I had mentioned my family dynamics. I think it's important to say that I grew up in a household where my parents were separated, so not divorced, but separated from the years of 10 to 20.
Hmm.
So, extremely developmental years where their separation was a lot of limbo. It impacted me, it impacted my development.
As it would for anyone, I think.
Yes. And it was something that I think I just was I was so terrified to reciprocate that and to bring kids into a world where that could be a possibility. And so I moved forward in that decision to marry him. And I think a part of me, again, lost myself because I almost had to detach from that anxiety, if that makes
100%.
sense. It came up later,
Yeah.
naturally,
Hmm.
in couples therapy.
Hmm.
I think there was a lot of losing myself to cope. And that makes me feel sad.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel almost this guilt and shame for my ex because I know he doesn't regret our relationship. But also, if he were to ever hear these things, it's hard being like, oh my God, she maybe had doubts all along. You know what I mean? There's a sense of shame that I feel like, wow,
That
I really did impact someone's life. But also, everything we do impacts
that's
other people,
that's the nature
you
of
know?
living, of relationships,
Yeah.
of choosing to
And that's when
make
you sign up for
choices.
it.
Exactly. It's like I'm choosing to be in this relationship knowing that this person is giving me their truest self right now, and that might change, right?
Yeah.
And acting from their experiences. I want to be gentle in how I ask this. How much do you think that your parents' separation when you were growing up played into your decision to marry your ex? And I also want to be aware of the fact that, like you said, they were separated from ages 10 to 20 for you. So they've been back together for 11 years now, right? Nothing is exactly the same as it was then. But I do think just briefly touching on how that impacted your thoughts on marriage in general. Did you feel a desire to get married to prevent something like that from happening in the future for you?
So much of it was influential. I think when you come from, and I think my parents would attest to this, it was a dysfunctional household growing up. I mean, 10 years of separation, that's not functioning, right? If you just
Mhm.
break it down. And I think I just so badly wanted my own family unit,
Totally.
you know?
Yeah.
So many people in my life had a partnership. Like, I also think that that was really hard when I realized getting divorced. I was like, I don't have like a person, like people in my life have my back, but at the end of the day, my best friend has her husband. You had a partner. My
Yeah.
sister has a part. Like everyone has that
Yeah.
person. And then when you realize you're like, fuck, I don't even have like an emergency contact. You're like,
And especially, like, you're one of 2 children, right? And you're the
yeah.
youngest, so your sister got married before you and had started her own
We've
family
got married
unit.
10 years apart. Like, that's
Totally.
crazy.
Completely different
So,
life stages. Your parents
yeah.
are back together. Your
Yeah.
sister is with her partner. And
Yeah.
like you're saying, the people around you were in partnership. I think that makes a lot of sense that you would feel connection and love with someone and think, this is the person I should be with, right?
Yeah.
And this is my opportunity to have my own family unit, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that. And I appreciate your vulnerability. I know this is a delicate situation. I want to
Yeah.
ask, at what point in the relationship you started to feel the marriage wasn't going to work for you long term?
So we didn't live together when we were first dating. And then my ex bought a house. I didn't want to move in. I had told him until I was engaged. That was something that I think from the again religious standpoint, I didn't at that point identify with religion, but I identified with my parents' religion. So I
Totally.
wanted to appease them and do some things that would just feel better on that front. So I was like, well, I won't be married and living together, but at least there will be a ring involved and there's that commitment. That felt better to me. But even then, I didn't ever sit down and have like an explicit conversation with my parents. We just dove through and no one talked about it.
Mhm, mhm,
And I would say when we moved in together, that was when there would be arguments like that incompatibility would surface.
mhm, mhm.
We started seeing a couples therapist about 6 months into being married, and I feel like that's probably not a great sign, Which, listen, if you need to seek out couples therapy, I'm a huge advocate.
Totally,
But I feel like in the first year of my relationship, when we were dating, it was again me being the pursuer. So there was not a lot of conflict because of the fact that I suppressed a lot of what I needed. But you
totally.
can't mask in a relationship when you're living together. Like eventually it's
For
all going to
sure.
surface or you're going to just implode.
Your true
So
colors start to come out more and more, and it's like, "Okay, what does this really look like? Living
yes,
together, doing life together, this is the actual test."
yeah. Once all of that started surfacing, that was when we really needed some external perspective. And I think what was hard is that because I did and do still have, I think, a lot of pain from childhood that absolutely comes into who I am as a person and then how I am in relationships. I think it was really hard to come to the conclusion of this relationship is not for me versus "Oh, I just need to work through all of this pain individually and then that will make my relationship be better and stronger and I won't have all of these like wounds that someone's accidentally pressing on?"
Yeah, because there's one thing to be like, I'm having disagreements with my partner, right? Every relationship is going to take compromise. And it's that line of, is this something that I am needing to compromise and work on in order for there to be mutual respect? Or is this
Yeah.
something where innately our values are misaligned and we're not
Yeah.
compatible? And for either one of us to change something significant would be a betrayal to ourselves. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, something we don't talk about a lot when it comes to relationships, how important it is that not
Yeah.
only you're committed, but also committed because you're aligned on the things that make your life flow and are willing to compromise on, the other things too. But those main core values being there, being aligned,
Yeah.
that I think plays a huge role.
I will say a fault of mine that I'm still working on is the fact that when you have a wound of being misunderstood, it's really, really hard to come from a place of collaboration.
For sure.
Add on my Capricorn sun, and it's a serious issue.
And your Scorpio moon.
I will be completely honest. I was in that relationship. I was mutually someone that was not always the healthiest. And I was a part of that
Push and pull
just
dynamic.
push him. Yeah, it was unhealthy. So that was a reason why I chose to end it. I was ending it for myself and I was ending it for the other person because of the fact that I was like, this is not sustainable. This is
Yeah.
not healthy. My nervous system
We're not
is
happy.
not, yeah. And we both had admitted that.
Yeah. At what point did you know what's best for us is to end this, and how did you proceed from there?
I have always been someone that feels decisions and things and experiences in my body.
Like before you're conceptually understanding them?
Yes. And when I tell you, I had gotten to a place where my soul was going to crawl out of my body if I did not leave that marriage. My soul
Mm.
was like, I can't handle this anymore. So we're going to dip out of this like physical experience. Imagine like skin crawling feeling. It was like an out of body experience. I can't explain it. All of my decisions last year that I made, I ended up having a similar experience of when I recognized that something was misaligned to me, it all surfaced in my body. It was as if I didn't even have a choice and that my body had
100%.
already made the decision for me.
That makes a lot of sense that your nervous system knew something wasn't right. But then in your body, right, you're going through the motions. You know what it's like to be in relation with this person daily. So you're kind of just going through that, knowing
Yeah.
that once you acknowledge how you feel, there's no going back, right? So I think there's also probably part of our nervous system that keeps us from cognitively recognizing that sooner because that's really scary, right? I can imagine that must have felt really dissonant to have a feeling inside of you that felt foreign and afraid when you were in a situation that was supposed to make you feel safe and seen.
Yeah. Ugh, it's just, I think part of me feels really sad that I allowed myself to experience that for as long as I did.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But again, having grace for myself because logically I look back and say, I don't regret this. It taught me so much.
You were working with all of the information that you had at that
Yeah.
point. You were doing your absolute best with everything you knew at that point.
I think coming out of, so let's see here, I asked him for a divorce in May. We lived together in the house for about 3 weeks. That was really hard. And then I moved out to an apartment and our divorce was finalized at the end of June, the last day of June. And I think what was so sad for me to recognize was just how much of myself I had lost. Like seeing my energy and my joy and my light and just this essence of who I am come back. I think I just had so much grief of how much I had fallen into the pattern of feeling silenced
Without realizing that you were
without
betraying
realizing.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not only a grief for a relationship you thought you were going to have forever. It's a grief for there have been years of my life now that I haven't realized I've been not living for me, living below
Yeah.
my potential, and ultimately in fight or flight. And that is a really devastating realization, even if you don't regret that time and you know it was
Yeah.
necessary for your growth. Coming to terms with that is devastating. It feels like, oh, I lost part of my life.
Yeah. Your mom was so sweet. She's really stood out in my divorce journey as someone who has really held space for me.
Yeah.
We had a family reunion.
In September.
Yeah, September, pretty soon after the divorce. And sometimes I think that when you interact with people that they were a part of divorce and they received it, like their partner divorced them, or in your mom's case, she's a widow that lost her husband unexpectedly, a whole other thing. Sometimes there's this guilt that comes with it. Like, oh no, I put this upon myself. So why would anyone feel bad for me almost? But your mom was so gracious. Like, sweetie, you are experiencing grief because you're grieving this life that you expected with someone, and that's not happening. And she paralleled it to the loss of her husband, which I just felt was just, again, so gracious. I don't know. It meant so much to me, even though obviously it's incomparable. But the fact that she held space for me in that moment was just so beautiful.
Well, loss is loss, right?
Yeah.
And I agree that's something since my dad died, come to admire about my mom so much is she holds so much compassion and empathy for anyone who's going through loss of any kind, and she doesn't discriminate. Even though, like you're saying, in that situation, you chose to get a divorce, and that's different than obviously like her husband of 30 years passing away suddenly. And also there being no pride of like, oh, well, my pain's worse. I'm really grateful she was able to show up for you like that. And I've felt her show up for me that way in my breakup, even though it's been different. And I'm really glad you had someone who could validate your pain in that way.
I also want to say throughout the process, I did have a lot of gratitude in, well, first of all, I think that they need to make 2 different entrances and exits at the courthouse. Like, you go through the front for the marriage, you go in the back for a divorce. Because I just feel like it was a little rude to go through like the same repetitive process 3 years later and being like, oh, wow, this looks similar. But I was doing this we went to the courthouse together, so it's just like very oddly emotional. It takes a lot to break down in a government building, it's a different vibe. Doesn't really welcome the vulnerability. The gratitude that I was going to say was I was waiting in line to make sure I was filing properly. And, it is annoyingly complex. And I also think that Oregon might even be an easier state than a lot of states from what I've understood. But the amount of things that I was hearing, like people filing restraining orders or people not being able to pay I think it's like $360 or something like that you have to pay to get divorced. And I feel like that made me feel so grateful. Just there was no compromised safety. Like, it was the best case scenario for me. And it made me feel so grateful that I ended up having the choice of divorce. Because I feel like a lot of people stay in marriages for the uncertainty of financial stability, for fear of retaliation, for fear of safety, for fear of how they're going to support their children. It's scary how much of our potential rights are on the line right now with this administration. And even feeling like wow, I had the autonomy to choose to then get a divorce when I was not happy in my marriage.
Uh-huh.
That's something I really wanted to recognize because the whole process is just a whirlwind. I mean, I could probably talk about this for like 100 episodes because
Yeah.
it's just so complex, but that was something that really did stand out to me.
That's a really beautiful perspective to have because you're right, a lot of people don't have the option to just leave a marriage because it's not safe or because they're unhappy, whether that's economic reasons or safety, family, culture, whatever it may be. I think that's a beautiful thing to draw attention to. And that leads me to this next question. Do you feel like the experience of getting married and getting a divorce has given you more compassion or empathy for other people?
That's a great question, and I actually don't know if I've really reflected on that. I don't feel like that is maybe a strong takeaway from the situation yet, and I think that I will be
Mm,
unpacking divorce for years, if I'm being
totally.
honest.
It's still fresh. You're still less than a year out from this
Yeah,
experience. Like, it makes sense that you would still
I
be unpacking it.
I think if anything, this is gonna sound maybe odd, but I feel a lot of pride in that I made a choice to blow up my whole entire life. And it was so hard. And it's because I wanted to put myself first in a society that I really feel like doesn't encourage women to do so, or it's deemed as selfishness.
Or like bitchiness, cattiness, immaturity.
Yeah, but I feel so proud the fact that I was able to admit to myself that wasn't necessarily wrong, but it wasn't right. I have just this sense of pride of doing something for myself. Sometimes I think about who I was in that scenario, and it's so weird. I almost see her as like a younger version of myself. I've had like some EMDR therapy sessions where my therapist has helped me work through a memory when I was younger. And at one point, she had me envision my younger self and give my younger self a hug. I know my married self was only 9 months ago, but I still feel like it's just an entirely different version of myself that I just want to give a hug.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, this really weird experience, but I would say
Mm,
that's like the largest emotion that I feel is this pride, and
yeah.
I feel like a badass. Like honestly,
You are. You chose to do something that you knew in your gut was right. You had no
yeah,
logical proof to validate or justify. You knew it
yeah,
would change your living circumstances, your family circumstances, your friend circumstances. It would shift everything for you. Not
yeah,
only would you be grieving a relationship and dealing with the logistics, but there was nothing proving to you beforehand that that was going to make things better for you, right? Other than your
yeah,
intuition.
yeah,
And that's such a beautiful thing to get out of this. I think even at the very least, if there were one thing you got out of this, like you're saying, this pride of knowing, oh, I know myself and I'll stand up for myself and I'm not going to abandon me, right?
yeah. And now it's been this trickling effect of I left a career that didn't feel aligned to me.
You let yourself move away from your hometown because you can make changes and choices that are just because you want to.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
single thing I did, I decided to go into a career that honestly has always felt aligned to me. I just never chose it because of fear. You know, I feel like I look at life now of like, what else you got? I feel more rock solid than I've ever felt in my life. I still experience this change of it's just me and I have to figure out my life. And, sometimes I get decision fatigue because it's just me and I can't necessarily have this partnership to bounce logistics off of or ideas or things like that. And sometimes that's can be challenging, but I feel just so much better and stronger. And I now know if I am ever in partnership again, maybe I don't know what I need from a partner in the sense of,
Like being able to spell it all out precisely.
yeah, but I know how I want to feel. That's my North Star. And that's something that I will never deviate from. And Maddie, if I do, you can just fucking call me out.
Well, yeah, I mean, same. I think that's, again, something that's also beautiful about our experiences and our relationship that we're expanding alongside each other, right? It's
Yeah.
interesting, even just thinking about how in the early stages of your relationship, even in your engagement, maybe there were some doubts under the surface that were there, but not the the primary emotion you were experiencing or the main thing you were feeling, right? And
Yeah.
as well, from my perspective, as someone who's known you my whole life and spent so much time with you, I can't deny that I also had doubts about your connection only because of a couple of little things in my gut. And I was like, this is your relationship. This is something you will figure out. But I think
Yeah.
we help each other in that way in our relationships and are able to be a mirror for like how we're actually showing up because we know each other so well and on such like an
Yeah.
unmasked level. If we see each other in a situation being somewhat disingenuous, there's even just like this slight radar of, hmm, I know you and I can tell that there's something not at ease here. And
Yeah.
I hope that can help keep me accountable as well as I continue going through my life and am in future relationships, and that we can have that open dialogue of, hey, how do you actually feel? How does your nervous
Yeah.
system feel? How does your body feel? And allow that to be a conversation that can be had before things go all the way awry. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's a great point, and I don't feel like even in the best of friendships, that's not always available.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would have responded. I was in such a different place, and again, it's such a fine line because to your point, you want that other person to be able to self-reflect and have that own journey. And also, people aren't ready to hear something, they won't.
Exactly. I remember when I was in my last major serious relationship with a man, and it was very tumultuous. Looking back, I can definitely see how we both played into that. But
Yeah.
I remember either like second or third time we got back together, my
Mhm.
sister and my best friends coming together and being like, girl, we're having an intervention. You deserve more than
I love
this.
that.
And at the time, I was devastated. It was like the most lonely I had ever felt because I was like, I have to be with this person that I love, and these people who love me don't see it. But what I can really see now is they loved me so much that they couldn't not say anything. Right.
Yeah.
And again, I was going to do what I was going to do. But
Yeah.
I can look back now and see that was hard and divisive at the time. But I know for certain that those people are in my boat long term, right?
Yeah.
They haven't left my side, even though maybe they were right about certain situations. And
Yeah.
I know now can trust these people to know what's best for me to some extent and to hold me
Mhm.
accountable. Right. I want to, first of all, thank you for all of your vulnerability. I think your story is so important and your bravery has been so inspiring for me. And I just want to ask you if there's anyone listening who is either going through a divorce, considering divorce, just got divorced, whatever it may be, what kind of final message would you have for them?
First off, I just want to validate the listener. You know everything.
Mm,
You know your next step. You know exactly what you need to do. I think what was really hard for me was sometimes I was like, man, I wish that my ex would just be such an asshole. A lot of people ask me what happened in the relationship because we're kind of taught that there needs to be this like acute thing that
yeah.
someone does for you to leave a marriage. And I
Mm-hmm.
just want to say to the listener, you don't need anything to back you up other than your feelings. You're allowed to change your mind, and there's nothing that should be able to dismiss your feelings. If it's something that doesn't serve and align to you, you are 1000% allowed to step away. And there's a way to do it, right? That can respect both parties if that's warranted. In addition to your feelings being valid and enough, whatever they might be. Something that was really helpful for me, and you're going to have to do your own self reflection to determine if it's the best thing for you. But I was pretty isolated the first maybe 5, 6 months of my post divorce life. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying like I never saw anyone. I just was very selective about the individuals that I allowed to have a seat at the table
Mm-hmm.
because you're so vulnerable in this time.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally okay to protect your energy. It's okay to distance yourself temporarily from loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a respectful way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But Know that the biggest priority in this state is to take care of yourself, and the right community will come along and nourish you and take care of you, and you'll be able to get back to your vibrant self. And it's not gonna all come at once. It's gonna ebb and flow as grief does, but you will get back to the best version of yourself. It'll take time, and every divorce and breakup and change is different, but I truly believe it all goes back to following your gut.
I agree. And I think that's so beautiful and so empowering. And I'm really grateful that you were willing to share your thoughts on this. I know it's, again, still fresh and a sensitive subject. And I hope we can keep this conversation ongoing as we continue the pod. But thank you for all of your thoughts and your wisdom and your vulnerability. This episode is coming out the day before Valentine's Day, but instead of talking about love, we talked about divorce. So next time, how about we do a little delayed Valentine's Day, and that can be our theme for our outfits next week.
I love that. Well, thank you, listeners, for allowing me to take you on this journey of divorce. I hope you got a little something from it. We would love your support. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, download. We are on Spotify. Send it to all your friends. Send it to those friends that you feel like maybe should get a divorce. I don't know. Oh, we didn't say that.
We've all thought it.
Totally. It's the safe place here in Cousin Closet.
If you're not already following us on Instagram, please do at Cousin Closet Podcast, and TikTok, YouTube as well. Let me tell you, vroom, vroom. Engine is revving. We're about to pop off. So follow along.
Thank you guys for listening. We're so excited to talk to you guys next week.
We'll see you then. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy weekend. We love you.
Talk soon.